In a world where fate often plays cruel tricks, few lives seem as cursed as that of Karl Karlsen, a man whose existence appears to be woven with threads of misfortune, each twist more tragic than the last. From the ashes of his wife's untimely death to the chilling demise of his son, every chapter of Karl's life screams tragedy. But as we peel back the layers of this seemingly unfortunate soul, we will uncover a sinister truth lurking beneath, a revelation that will forever change our perception of luck and morality. But before we dive in, some of the details in this story are disturbing and may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewer discretion is strongly advised. As always, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with the channel. Alright, let's dive into the video. Karl Karlsen was born in 1961 in California, into a world that seemed indifferent to his plight. Raised in an environment fraught with instability, he faced numerous challenges that would shape his dark destiny. His childhood was marred by emotional turmoil and familial strife, leaving him with scars that would never heal. Despite these hardships, Karl's desire for a better life burned within him, a flicker of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. Growing up, Karl was the product of a fractured family. His parents struggled to maintain a stable household, often embroiled in conflicts that left their children feeling neglected and fearful. This chaotic environment instilled in Karl a deep-rooted sense of insecurity. He learned early on that love and safety were not guarantees. They were privileges that could be stripped away at any moment. As a young boy, Karl often found solace in his imagination, dreaming of a life far removed from the chaos surrounding him. However, reality was relentless. He faced bullying at school, which compounded his feelings of isolation and inadequacy. These experiences shaped his worldview, teaching him that vulnerability could lead to pain, a lesson that would haunt him throughout his life. By the time he reached adolescence, Karl had developed a facade of toughness to shield himself from further emotional harm. He became adept at hiding his feelings, presenting an image of strength to the outside world while grappling with inner demons. This duality would later manifest in troubling ways as he navigated adulthood. In the early 1980s, Karl met Christina, a young woman who seemed to embody everything he longed for: stability, warmth, and love. Their romance blossomed quickly, igniting hope within him for a brighter future. However, beneath this seemingly perfect union lay cracks that would soon widen into chasms. Karl and Christina's relationship began during a time when he was stationed as a cadet in the Air Force in North Dakota. Their love story unfolded against the backdrop of military life, filled with excitement but also marked by uncertainty. Christina was married to another cadet at the time. However, their undeniable connection led her to leave her husband for Karl. This decision would later haunt her family as they questioned Karl's true intentions. After marrying Christina, they welcomed 3 children into their lives, a blessing that should have brought joy, but instead became a source of pressure for Karl. Struggling to provide for his growing family, he took on various jobs, including one at a local stone quarry in New York. Financial instability loomed large over their household, creating an atmosphere of tension and anxiety. In search of better opportunities, the family relocated to Murphy's, California, when Christina's father offered Karl a job at his sheet metal business. Initially hopeful about this new beginning, the couple soon found themselves trapped in a cycle of escalating conflict. Christina's family began to notice troubling aspects of their marriage. Karl's controlling behavior became increasingly evident. Christina's sister described how Karl wielded psychological manipulation over her sister, often belittling her appearance and self-worth. "He controlled my sister mentally because he would tell her that she was chubby," she recalled. This emotional abuse chipped away at Christina's confidence and left her feeling powerless, a dynamic that would only worsen over time. As tensions escalated within the household, reports of physical abuse emerged. Friends recounted chilling stories of Karl's violent outbursts. One instance involved him slamming into Christina so hard she flew across the room. Despite these alarming signs, Christina remained committed to keeping her family together. She believed her children deserve both parents under one roof. In the years following their move back to New York, after Christina's tragic death in 1991, Karl settled down on a farm in Varick, where he raised Belgian drafted horses as a hobby. However, this idyllic setting masked deeper issues within the Karlsen household. After remarrying Cindy, his children described an upbringing filled with fear rather than love. Karl's anger often manifested through physical violence directed toward his children, especially Levi. One child would say, "When my father was going to beat us, he would send us all to our rooms so there wouldn't be any witnesses." The abuse was systematic and calculated. Karl ensured there were no visible marks left on his children to avoid drawing attention from outsiders. Levi bore the brunt of this torment, often subjected to brutal beatings with whatever weapon was within reach. Fists, pipes, shovels, anything became an instrument of punishment. The barn became a haunting backdrop for these violent episodes. It stood as both a sanctuary for horses and a prison for Levi. The cycle of violence continued unchecked until another fire broke out in 2002 at their horse barn, claiming 3 horses and earning Karl yet another insurance payout. This incident foreshadowed the tragic fate that awaited Levi just 6 years later, a fate intertwined with greed and manipulation. In November 2008, just days after taking out a substantial life insurance policy on Levi without his son's full understanding or consent, tragedy struck again when Levi died under suspicious circumstances while working on a truck at their farm. Initially ruled an accident by authorities, whispers of foul play began circulating among those who knew the family well. As we explore Karl Karlsen's early life and background further throughout this episode, we will unravel how these formative experiences shaped him into the man who would ultimately betray those closest to him, transforming from a seemingly unfortunate victim into something far more sinister. As an adult, Karl's life spiraled into chaos marked by a series of tragic accidents. The first major blow came when his wife, Christina Karlsen, died in a fire that engulfed their home in 1991. Officially ruled an accident, whispers of foul play began to circulate among those who knew them.
There had been a fire at my sister's house, and my sister did not make it out.
His first instinct was to save his children.
He must have been devastated.
It killed me.
But is Karlsen's misfortune a cover for something more sinister?
Christina's family was suspicious.
Friends and family described it as just another unfortunate event in Karl's life. But was it truly mere bad luck? Eyewitnesses reported seeing strange behavior from Karl leading up to the incident, behavior that would haunt him forever. On New Year's Day in 1991, the Karlsen household was supposed to be celebrating the start of a new year. Instead, chaos erupted when flames engulfed their home in Murphys, California. While Karl managed to evacuate their 3 children, Christina was trapped inside the bathroom and ultimately succumbed to smoke inhalation. The scene was harrowing. Neighbors rushed to help, but could do nothing as the fire raged out of control. Initially, investigators deemed the fire accidental. However, as they sifted through the ashes, they uncovered details that raised eyebrows. Just weeks before the tragedy, Karl had taken out a substantial life insurance policy on Christina, approximately $215,000. This timing led many to question his motives. In the aftermath of the fire, Karl's demeanor struck many as unsettlingly calm. He even made inappropriate jokes about his wife's death in conversations with friends. The investigation revealed that the bathroom window, a potential escape route for Christina, had been boarded up shortly before the incident. Fire officials noted a strong odor of kerosene at the scene, suggesting possible foul play. Despite these alarming findings, authorities lacked enough evidence to charge Karl with any wrongdoing.
He sees flames. He sees the house is on fire. He hears Christina say, "Karl, get the kids."
She loved those kids and she would have done anything for them.
Just days after Christina's death, Karl moved with his children back to New York. This abrupt relocation raised suspicions among Christina's family and friends, who felt he was evading scrutiny during a time of profound loss. Many believed he had taken advantage of their grief to escape any serious investigation. Years later, another tragedy struck when Karl's son Levi died under suspicious circumstances while working on a truck at their farm in Varick, New York.
His horses died, his wife died, his son died.
The truck fell on my stepson. Justice crushed. His chest was crushed.
This was an accident. Karl was just so traumatized by it.
On November 20th, 2008, Levi was crushed when the vehicle fell off its jack. Initially ruled an accident as well, Levi's death would become pivotal in reopening investigations into both incidents. As investigators looked deeper into Levi's death, they began to uncover unsettling patterns that suggested a more sinister motive behind each tragedy. Reports revealed that Karl had collected substantial insurance payouts from both Christina and Levi's deaths, $215,000 for his wife and $700,000 for his son. This alarming trend prompted authorities to re-examine Christina's case with fresh eyes. New evidence and testimonies from family members painted a troubling picture of Karl's behavior during both tragedies. Friends recounted how he seemed more concerned about financial gain than genuine grief after each loss. This disturbing pattern of events prompted law enforcement to question whether Karl was truly a victim of fate or if he had orchestrated these misfortunes for personal profit. The tragic deaths of his wife and son raised haunting questions. Was Karl merely cursed with bad luck, or was he manipulating circumstances for his own benefit? The most heart-wrenching tragedy struck when his son, Levi Karlsen, met his untimely end at just 23 years old. Officially ruled an accident during a freak incident involving a truck, the circumstances surrounding Levi's death raised eyebrows among investigators and loved ones alike. Friends recounted how Karl had been unusually calm in the days leading up to the tragedy, an unsettling contrast to the grief expected from a father mourning his child. On November 20th, 2008, Levi was working on a pickup truck at the family farm in Varick, New York. According to Karl, he and his wife Cindy had left for a funeral that day, leaving Levi to complete repairs on the vehicle. When they returned, they found him crushed beneath the truck. Initial reports indicated that the vehicle had slipped off its jack while Levi was underneath it, resulting in a fatal injury. The scene was devastating. Family members were left in shock as they processed the loss of a young man with so much potential. Levi was remembered as a caring individual who had dreams and aspirations that were abruptly cut short. His cousins and siblings struggled to understand how such a tragedy could occur, especially under circumstances that seemed so ordinary. Levi had always been known for his adventurous spirit and willingness to help others. Friends described him as someone who would lend a hand to anyone in need. He was passionate about cars and often spent his weekends tinkering with vehicles or helping friends with repairs. His enthusiasm for mechanics was evident to all who knew him. He had plans to pursue a career in automotive technology. In the aftermath of Levi's death, friends and family gathered to mourn. Memorial services were held where loved ones shared stories of laughter and joy, contrasting sharply with the sorrow that enveloped them. As they remembered Levi's infectious smile and kind heart, it became painfully clear how much he would be missed. Yet, amidst this grief, whispers of doubt began to circulate regarding the nature of his passing. While authorities initially ruled Levi's death an accident, several details surrounding the incident raised suspicions. Eyewitnesses noted Karl's demeanor following the tragedy. He appeared disturbingly composed during what should have been a time of profound grief. Many questioned how a father could maintain such calmness after losing his son. In conversations with family members, inconsistencies in Karl's story began to surface. He claimed that he had removed the front tires from the truck and raised it on a single jack before asking Levi to help with repairs. However, this setup was inherently dangerous, raising questions about why Karl would allow his son to work under such conditions. Family members recalled how Karl seemed more focused on logistics than emotions in the days following Levi's death. He made arrangements for the funeral without displaying any visible signs of distress, an unsettling behavior that left many feeling uneasy. In stark contrast, Levi's siblings were devastated. They struggled to cope with their loss while navigating their father's detached demeanor. The emotional toll on Levi's family was immense. They grappled not only with their loss but also with an unsettling feeling that something was amiss. Arlene Meltzer, Christina's mother, expressed her disbelief upon hearing about Levi's death. "I felt really bad, but I didn't think it was an accident. I thought, it's happened again," she recalled. Her instincts echoed those of many others who sensed that Levi's tragic fate might not have been purely coincidental. As time passed and grief turned into suspicion, conversations among family members became increasingly fraught with tension. Many began to connect dots between Levi's death and previous tragedies associated with Karl, a pattern that suggested more than mere misfortune. Memorials for Levi became poignant gatherings where friends and family shared their grief openly. They clung to memories of him, his laughter during family gatherings, his eagerness to help others, and his dreams for the future while grappling with an unsettling reality. Could this tragedy have been avoided? In those somber moments of remembrance, stories emerged about how Levi had touched lives in ways both big and small. He had volunteered at local charities and participated in community events aimed at helping those less fortunate. His kindness resonated deeply within his community. People spoke of him as someone who always put others first. As they mourned their loss, they also began questioning whether justice would ever be served for Levi Karlsen. Friends whispered among themselves about what truly happened that fateful day. They felt compelled to seek answers not just for themselves but for Levi, who deserved more than just an official ruling of accident. The impact of Levi's death rippled through the community as friends and family sought solace amid their sorrow. They clung to memories while grappling with an unsettling reality. Something felt profoundly wrong about how this tragedy unfolded. Before we continue on, if you are enjoying the story so far, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you don't like it, let me know down in the comments. Your support truly means everything. All right, back to the video. The investigation into the tragic death of Levi Karlsen began to unfold after the initial ruling of an accident raised eyebrows among family members and authorities. Levi, just 23 years old, was crushed beneath a pickup truck he was working on when it slipped off its jack. While Karl Karlsen, his father, claimed it was a tragic accident, the circumstances surrounding Levi's death prompted a closer examination of Karl's past. In the wake of Levi's death on November 20th, 2008, the authorities initially accepted Karl's explanation. However, as details emerged, family members began to voice their suspicions. They recalled how Karl had taken out a substantial life insurance policy on Levi just weeks before the incident, $700,000 to be exact. This revelation sent shockwaves through the family and community as they struggled to reconcile their grief with the unsettling implications of financial gain tied to such a tragic event. Cindy Karlsen, Karl's estranged wife at the time, became increasingly suspicious of her husband's behavior. She learned that he had also taken out a $1.2 million life insurance policy on her life. This alarming discovery prompted her to cooperate with law enforcement in their investigation into Levi's death. Cindy agreed to wear a wire during conversations with Karl in hopes of gathering incriminating evidence. During these recorded conversations, Karl made statements that raised red flags for investigators. He admitted to having removed the truck's front tires and raising it on a single jack before asking Levi to assist with repairs. In one chilling exchange at a restaurant, he told Cindy that he had taken advantage of the situation once the truck fell, a statement that would later haunt him as evidence against him mounted. As authorities began piecing together Karl's history, they discovered a troubling pattern of life insurance payouts linked to family tragedies. Just 19 days before Christina Karlsen's death in a house fire in 1991, Karl had taken out a $200,000 life insurance policy on her life. Following her death, he collected this payout without any significant scrutiny at the time. Investigators noted that he had received over $1 million from various insurance claims over 2 decades, each payout stemming from suspicious circumstances involving loved ones. The investigation into Levi's death prompted authorities in California to revisit Christina's case. As they delved deeper into Karl's past actions and financial motives, they uncovered evidence that suggested he had orchestrated these tragedies for personal gain. Former New York State Police investigator Jeff Arnold stated that Karl's behavior was beyond bizarre, noting how he framed his actions as protective rather than predatory. As investigators continued their work, they found inconsistencies in Karl's accounts of events surrounding both deaths. During police interrogations that lasted nearly 10 hours, he denied killing his son 75 times, but ultimately admitted that he caused the truck to fall onto Levi while claiming it was an accident. This admission further fueled suspicions about his intentions. Cindy's cooperation with law enforcement proved crucial in building a case against Karl. She provided insights into his character and behavior that painted a disturbing picture of manipulation and greed. Her revelations about the insurance policies and her feelings of being targeted by Karl deepened investigators' resolve to uncover the truth. The emotional toll this had on Cindy was immense. She felt betrayed not only by her husband, but also by the realization that she could have been next in line for his financial schemes. It was horrifying to me when I actually heard it and it came out of his mouth. I felt like I lost my father too, she recalled, reflecting on Karl's admission regarding Levi's death.
Cindy Karlsen says that during this time, she was so terrified of her husband, she started sleeping with a knife under her bed. And finally, she just had to move out.
Shortly after I left is when law enforcement called me.
First thing she said was, "Thank God you called," and that she said that she also had suspicions.
They said they had a tip from a family member that maybe there was something more to Levi's death. That's when we started working together with law enforcement.
As evidence mounted against him, Karl faced charges of second-degree murder and insurance fraud related to Levi's death. The case garnered significant media attention due to its shocking nature and the complex web of deceit woven by Karl over many years. In November 2013, during a plea deal arrangement, Karl pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for Levi's death. He stated in court that he knew Levi was likely still alive under the truck but made no attempt to lift it off or call for help. A chilling admission that revealed a deeper level of culpability. The investigation did not end there. It opened doors for authorities in California to pursue charges against Karl for Christina's murder as well. The connections between the two cases became increasingly evident as investigators pieced together his history of collecting life insurance payouts tied to family tragedies. The investigation into Levi Karlsen's death took a shocking turn, revealing a pattern of deception that would unmask Karl Karlsen as a man driven by greed and manipulation. Initially perceived as a grieving father, Karl's facade began to crumble as investigators dug deeper into his past. A past marked by a series of tragic events that coincidentally lined his pockets with life insurance payouts. During one such conversation in a crowded restaurant, Cindy wore a wire to capture incriminating statements from Karl. As she pressed him for the truth about Levi's death, Karl's responses were chilling. He admitted to removing the truck's front tires and raising it on a single jack before asking Levi to assist with repairs. It was never meant to be, he claimed, attempting to frame the incident as an unfortunate accident. However, his words carried an unsettling weight. They suggested a level of negligence that could not be overlooked. Investigators noted that Karl's demeanor during these discussions was disturbingly calm. While most fathers would be consumed by grief after losing a child, Karl appeared more concerned about justifying his actions than expressing sorrow. This dissonance raised red flags for law enforcement and family members alike. As authorities continued their investigation into Levi's death, they uncovered more about Karl's history with life insurance policies. It became evident that he had collected over $1 million from various payouts linked to family tragedies over the years. Just 19 days before Christina Karlsen's death in a house fire in 1991, he had taken out a $200,000 life insurance policy on her life. Following her untimely demise, he received the payout without significant scrutiny at the time. The pattern of financial gain associated with tragedy painted a disturbing picture of Karl as someone who capitalized on loss rather than mourning it. Former New York State Police investigator Jeff Arnold remarked on the bizarre nature of these incidents. It's extremely unlikely that someone would have many tragic events just weeks after obtaining exorbitantly high insurance policies. As investigators pieced together this chilling narrative, they began to see Karl not merely as a victim of fate, but as a calculating individual who orchestrated these tragedies for personal profit. The handwritten will Levi signed just hours before his death, leaving everything to his father, further deepened suspicions about Karl's influence over his son. In court proceedings leading up to his trial for second-degree murder and insurance fraud in connection with Levi's death, Karl maintained his innocence. He repeatedly denied any intent to harm his son during nearly 10 hours of police interrogation. However, despite his denials, he acknowledged causing the truck to fall onto Levi while claiming it was an accident, a statement that would come back to haunt him. Cindy's cooperation with law enforcement proved crucial in building a case against Karl. Her insights into his character and behavior painted a disturbing picture of manipulation and greed. During her testimony, she expressed feelings of betrayal and horror at discovering how deeply entwined their lives were with financial motives. Cindy experienced an overwhelming emotional burden. She felt trapped in a marriage where her husband's actions threatened not only her life, but also the legacy of her children. She testified during pre-trial proceedings, "I would be worth $1.2 million dead to Karl," a statement that sent shockwaves through the courtroom. As evidence mounted against him, Karl faced charges not only for Levi's death, but also for Christina's murder, a case that had remained dormant for decades until now. The reopening of investigations into Christina's death, following Levi's case, provided hope for justice long sought by her family. In November 2013, during plea negotiations, Karl pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for Levi's death and admitted in court that he knew Levi was likely still alive under the truck, but made no attempt to lift it off or call for help. This admission shattered any remaining illusions about his character and solidified his status as a man driven by greed rather than love. The implications of this revelation rippled through both families as they grappled with the reality of what had transpired. For those who had long suspected foul play, this was not just the unmasking of a monster, but also an opportunity for healing, a chance to confront the darkness that had haunted them for years. As we conclude the harrowing tale of Karl Karlsen, we are faced with profound questions about luck, morality, and the human condition. What began as a series of unfortunate events has unraveled into a chilling narrative of manipulation and greed. The tragic deaths of his wife, Christina, and his son, Levi, reveal a man willing to exploit family ties for financial gain.